All right, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for another fun, exciting installment of study session. I'd like to call this meeting to order, and we have one item on the study session this evening, DR 25112 SCC, Higgley and Ocotillo Retail Center. And Sal DeSanto, please. Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Sal DeSanto, Planner 2. The study session item we'll be taking a look at first here is Design Review Case DR 25-112, Higgley and Ocotillo Retail Center. Before diving into the plans, I just wanted to provide a little bit of overview that in this study session, we are just going to be taking a look at the design review package that is anticipated to be moving forward for a formal decision at a later commission hearing. Tonight, we are just looking to receive some general feedback on site plan layout, the elevations, and the applicant requesting to submit CDs at risk. So here, looking at the overview, as I mentioned, there is a design review for a 3-pad commercial master site plan consisting of one user exceeding 75,000 square feet. And it's also important to mention that there is an administrative use permit requesting a 12.5% reduction in parking. The subject site outlined in blue here is roughly 16.14 gross acres and roughly 13.10 net acres. And it is located at the southeast corner of Higgley Road and Ocotillo Road, which is part of the larger 243-acre Marbella Vineyards planned area development. The subject site is currently vacant and is adjacent to single-family uses to the east, just beyond Wilson Way, and to the south, as well as to the west, just beyond Higgley Road there. And to the north, just beyond Ocotillo, we have the Town of Gilbert recharge facility, just providing some context to those adjacent uses. I also just wanted to highlight the potential zoning exhibit, as there is a application coming later today, not a part of this purview. Again, this is just the design review information, but I wanted to showcase the potential zoning for the site, which we can see the 3 separate pads for this commercial subdivision. Taking a look at the site plan, not much has changed in regards to orientation since the last time we saw this at the previous study session back in, I believe it was November. There are 3 pads, 2 of which will be located up along Ocotillo Road to the north, one of which is approximately 8,100 square feet and going to accommodate a sit-down restaurant, and the other, located in the northwest corner, is anticipated to be a financial institution, roughly 3,000 square feet. The larger commercial anchor is going to be situated closer to that eastern property line, but centralized there on site. This pad is anticipated to be 128,660 square feet and anticipated to be a target. As for parking, parking has been distributed throughout the site up along adjacent roadways, centralized on site, creating safe and sufficient access to all of the commercial pads. And here is where I just wanted to call out the administrative use permit for the parking reduction. Based off the uses, the total amount of parking that would be required would be 614. With that AUP for the parking reduction, we're looking at a total of 537 spaces. And again, that use permit is reviewed administratively. As for vehicular access, we do have 4 different means of access. On Higgley Road, we have a full access as well as a right-in, right-out. On Ocotillo Road, we also have a right-in, right-out. And then up along Wilson Way to the eastern side of the property, we have another full motion access. As for site fencing and walls, we are looking at roughly 3 feet parking screen walls up along Ocotillo Road and Higgley Road to screen those parked vehicles. And we also are integrating an 8-foot tall CMU perimeter screen wall along the eastern property line as well as that southern property line to help assist in some of that visual mitigation to the neighboring residential properties. Taking a look at the phasing plan for development, the first phase in pink is all of the horizontal infrastructure. Phase 1 will incorporate grading and drainage, on-site and off-street infrastructure. We're looking at landscaping here. So basically everything before we start to go vertical on the site. Phase 2 would then be the target major tenant pad. Phase 3 being pad 1 in the northeast corner, and the last phase being the financial institution in the northwest corner. For landscaping, the tree and plant selections are consistent with other landscaping materials found within the neighboring developments and PAD. The landscape plan proposes varied plant selection, such as desert willow, palo verde, red push pistache, southern live oak, and evergreen elm, with some of those accent shrubs being yellow bells, Rio Bravo sage, blue glow agave, and dwarf olive. And the last time we took a look at this at a study session, we had not met the minimum landscaping planting standards. To this point, all of the landscaping standards on site have been met. Moving into the elevations, I wanted to showcase the previous design that was shown back in November of last year. The building at this time was roughly 35 feet to the tallest point, and the roof line did vary in height between 24 and 26 feet. The exterior finishes were the exterior finishes were stucco, concrete tilt paneling, bronze aluminum, stone veneer, and concrete form liner. Many of these colors were softer and warmer in tones, and while working through the review with the applicant, we have been able to increase some of the architectural features on the structure itself. So here are our east and west elevations, which face Higgley Road, and the rear elevation to the east facing the adjacent residential. And then here we have the north and south elevations facing residential to the south and Ocotillo to the north. Here we actually have the updated elevations for the major tenant. So with some of these updates, with the complete screening of the RTUs, the roof line has gone up just a bit. The main architectural feature, which is that stacked stone feature just at the main entries, maintains a 35-foot height, but the roof line does jump between 26 feet 4 inches to 28 feet, creating some of that roof line variation. As for materials, the exterior will primarily consist of concrete tilt panels, finished in fine grain, trail dust, and calico rock. The building will also incorporate a variety of accent materials such as stacked stone, Nichiha panels, board form concrete, textured form liner, and composite paneling colored russet mica, which is that maroon portion just above the main entry there. Another thing to add, since that previous iteration, they did include a shaded storefront with this canopy system with some new architectural accents there to help promote a clear sense of entry. And as mentioned, the roof line, although maintaining fairly flat design, there has been an increase in variation since that last iteration, which we are happy about. Additionally, the elevations facing the residential have been touched up a bit with that form liner to introduce different textures as well as different cultures to help break up some of that long massing. For the pad 1 elevations, the architectural design has not changed from the last time you've seen it, but there have been adjustments to the color. That stacked stone was incorporating more of a cooler finish, but it is going to be updated to include that warmer tone for that stacked stone. We are still working with the applicant to work on some of the elevation along the northern property, or I'm sorry, on the north side of the structure. We feel that since it does face Ocotillo Road and has strong presence, we want to ensure that there's more articulation along that facade, which could be done with, introduction of new material, incorporating another material, potential shade canopies or shade features, or maybe a trellis or a wall plane feature. Just some of the things that we're thinking from the staff perspective. With that, it's the end of my presentation, and again, we're here at study session tonight to gather some planning commission feedback about the overall design, the elevations for the commercial subdivision, as well as the permission for the applicant to submit CDs at risk. And I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
Very good, Sal. Thank you, sir. Who wants to kick off with some questions for Sal? guess, Vice Chair, did you want?
Go ahead, Jan. Oh, well, Sal, this is a design review case. I had some discussions with staff, but it's a design review for a zoning that doesn't exist. In fact, the zoning is coming up later, and in my opinion, is anything but a sure bet. Why are we bringing a design review when the zoning hasn't been approved yet?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Fay, we're bringing this forward at study session, again, just for some of that preliminary feedback, as well as for the applicant to submit CDs at risk. Although we are reviewing the design before the zoning has been established for the site, it is not atypical to gather some insight for the design, as well as the applicant's, risk with submitting these CDs.
I mean, I get, in general, it's not bad to get insight, but, I mean, this is a public meeting. We notified the public are very interested in this item, and it's a little bit of a messed up process that they're hearing about stuff and legitimately concerned about stuff that doesn't really even exist yet. Why wouldn't we have just waited until the zoning was done before we started to do stuff that's based on the zoning?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Fay, looking at applications, we do have the ability to review things concurrently, but I think also just looking at it from a timeline perspective, from the applicant side as well as the town side, we want to ensure that we're getting the appropriate feedback and comments for the plans before proceeding forward with the design review.
I don't understand that. I mean, the timeline is what the timeline is. That's an applicant problem. I don't understand how this one's any different than any other project. Okay, I guess I've got a few thoughts, but I'm not even sure if I should bring them up because I don't know that I would necessarily want to bring them up if the zoning isn't in place yet. So I'll probably hold that. Thank you, Sal. Sorry if I'm making that uncomfortable.
No worries, Commissioner Fay. Thank you.
No, thank you, Vice Chair. I think that the question is in the way that we would review something that isn't a sure thing. It's hard for us to say, like, if we were to say, oh, this is a good design, but then in the zoning later we say this is bad, it creates the illusion, I think, and that's what Vice Chair is speaking to.
What does one even influence the other?
Right. Does one influence the other? And I think that's the concern of the discussion. So I think that's something just to be noted, that we are still in the process of even the initial zoning case on this in the meeting coming up. And so we should make sure that as we discuss it, we have an eye on that aspect of this project as we go. So Commissioner Davis, did you have some input?
Sure, thank you, Chair. On that, I agree. It's nice to be able to get that feedback on the elevations and such for the applicants, but again, there might be things that the neighbors bring up that might relate to some of the design issues, so that the applicant needs to understand that some of these comments might evolve as we discuss it, so that's part of the at-risk part, I guess. As far as what they proposed, am I understanding pad 1, are they coming back with that building? Because you said they're still making changes to it. They're just kind of showing us preliminary elevations on that one. It's the target that we're...
Chair Munt, Commissioner Davis. So we are still currently in the design review process for this application, so we are still going back and forth with the applicant, working through some of these review comments before we bring it back to you where we feel comfortable in the design. So there has been, like I said, some minimal change to those that pad 1, but internally we are still working with the applicant to ensure that architecture has made sufficient change that it is equivalent to the changes shown on the anchor tenant.
Okay. The color changes are better than what we saw last time, but I agree with, I think I maybe said it last time too, that north elevation along Ocotillo is important in getting some variation in the wall plane there and making that not look like the back side. As far as the perimeter wall along Wilson Way, is it? I thought it was unfortunate that it's located out so close to the street, and because along Wilson Way, that's going to be a harsh environment to have that 8-foot wall like right next to the sidewalk. I didn't know if there's an opportunity along there to move that to the other side of the retention basin to make sure that landscaping is actually in a place where people will actually see it and be able to benefit from it. So just something to look at on that. And then do we have a wall design for what that wall is gonna look like? Especially if it's gonna be up next to the sidewalk? I maybe missed it.
I don't believe I have the detail in this slideshow, but there has been a detail that has been submitted for the design. So it is a blend of different textured CMU block. I believe it's ground face and smooth. I believe there's only been one color proposed for those walls, but we're more than happy to continue that discussion to increase that variety in those wall planes.
As far as the target design, it's really nice. I really like the way it looks, kind of all the way around. I appreciate the glass that they used and just the forms. It's a nice building. So I don't have any comments on that. I think it relates more to that, what that presentation along Wilson Way and what's going to be from Ocotillo. And then I'll be curious to hear what the neighbors have to say as well. So I think that's all I had.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Anyone else? Commissioner Simon, please.
Yes, so thank you for the presentation. I'm in agreement, kind of odd going a little bit backwards here, but I'm going to make a couple comments just based on what we have in front of us and then take the zoning in a different light. With regards to the property, there's an existing retention basin to the south of this property. It doesn't look like they have any integration into that retention basin whatsoever. I don't know who's managing that retention basin or if it's just going to be left bare desert, but I'd be curious as to who's responsible for the upkeep and maintenance of that retention.
And just for clarification, Commissioner Simon, the retention we're talking about is the retention on the target side, correct?
It's the south side of the main building, down at the bottom there, below that. But it is not a part of this parcel. It's actually its own existing parcel.
Gotcha.
So it just, I mean, it looks like it's going to be a forgotten piece of land is what I'm going with this. You're gonna have a nice development. You're gonna have a nice residential. If this gets developed, then you're gonna have this little strip of land that nobody's gonna do anything with. So that'd be one concern. The other concern, if I was looking at this with regards to the design review and the way that the drive-in on the the northwest corner, I think I'd want to see double lanes in there if we were really discussing that, because it's going to push out into that entry aisle with regards to the way traffic flows in there. With regards to the building itself and elevation, I have no issue with it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Simon. Commissioner Anderson?
Sal, thank you for the presentation. Just small comment I have. I do like the elevations, but I'm kind of getting like a 1970s industrial commercial kind of vibe from it, you know? I think maybe because of the tilt ups and all. They did a nice job on the rear elevation of playing around the roof parapet lines some. And I think to help the front elevation, I'd like to suggest, if you look at the left side, how it's just that long, flat line on the top there, if they can maybe break that up a little bit, I think that would help kind of with the undulation around that roof line. But, I mean, I do like the play of the colors and materials. And I guess not everything from the 70s was totally bad, but thank you, Sal.
Thank you.
Yeah, the 70s retro is back, right? All right, well, very good. Commissioner
I just have
Simon.
one more question that I just thought of. With regards to the reduction in parking that they're looking for, is that to meet open space requirements?
Chairman, Commissioner Simon, it is not to meet any kind of landscape requirement. It is we're analyzing a parking study right now, just with these big box users, that the amount of parking required by code is not necessarily aligned with what they create. And with the reduction in the parking, it was able to create in our opinion, a more functional and safer circulation plan. And it actually pulled parking further away from those neighbors to the south.
Is it, is what they're looking for in line with what staff is starting to see with regards to what we should have versus what is currently written in the code?
Chairman, Commissioner Simon, I think looking at it, it is, looking at the initial study, we do see that there are higher vacancy rates with these big box stores. So just trying to understand as we move forward that we're just not continuing to overbuild parking spaces if they don't serve the need.
Understood.
Thank you, Commissioner Simon. Anyone down on the other end there? No?
Yeah, I
Vice
will-
Chair, please go ahead.
Sal, I wasn't gonna, but without these parking reductions and the setback reductions on the south side, the rest of the stuff won't fit, will it, under our current code?
Chairman, Commissioner Fay. So we haven't seen a design that had the complete parking on site since that initial submittal. We have been shown the parking through the request of the AUP, but they have been able to showcase the ability to meet what they've provided without the need of those deviations. But the deviation does provide a, like I said, a safer design for that, specifically that central part of the site in regards to parking and circulation.
But if we were to put, if the AUP wasn't approved, which I know that's not us doing that, but that's add 70 some odd spots back, and then and the setback wasn't requirement, I mean, this right now would have to go back to the CAD. They'd have to try to put all the pieces in, and my gut tells me, without reducing pad size or something, it doesn't fit. So they're trying to, they don't want to reduce the building size, obviously, so what they're and we're not going to let them reduce open space, I don't think. So they have to reduce setbacks and parking in order to try to fit the building size they want, in order to get the bigger building they want, correct?
Chairman, Commissioner Fay, that is correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Anyone else? Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. Just one more comment related to what Commissioner Fay just said. I think these, and Sal, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think these big box retailers and other retailers have their parking on lockdown. Like they know what they need to function and not be short, because they don't want to be short of parking. So I guess that's where my comfort level is with that, is that it's probably is excessively parked if Target is not saying that they need all of those spaces. So that's been my experience with it, but that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. Okay. Nothing else? All right. I like the design a bit too. I think there is a question about the, viability of discussing this prior to the zoning part. It gives the possible illusion of approval. But as for just taking this with a grain of salt from the design, I like what they've done, and I do like the roof line. But looking at the one up right now that Commissioner Anderson mentioned, that left side that's just flat, that would be good. You could probably put some articulation in that to make it even just balance with the other side some. But as for from what it looked like, when if seen it before, this is better. The point about the parking reduction, I agree with Vice Chair that I think it is to, put more in. However, I also agree that I know that working with Walmart in the past on things outside of, zoning here, but that they would put a dollar amount on the parking spaces and drive to get absolutely as many as possible. Now that's changed, of course, with the, pick up your groceries stuff or whatever, whatever hip young people do now, but that's beside the point. So I think there is a valid justification. It's just that balance of how much parking reduction is necessary. But other than that, I think the design looks pretty good. So anything else you need to clarify more further, Sal? Are you good?
Nothing from the design perspective, but just ensuring that the applicant is granted the permission to submit CDs at risk.
If I did anything on that, I would do it contingent upon the decision in the next hearing.
Understood.
So I wouldn't be comfortable. Does anyone else have input related to how we should structure the CDs at risk? Because I'm open to CDs at risk. I'm like, you guys want to throw money at something? God bless America. But at the same time, I don't want that to not be reconciled with the actual actions within the meeting.
That
Hit your mic, sir.
Assuming everyone's grown-ups, I give CDs at risk like candy. Why not? It's your grown-ups, take your, the risk goes way up if the zoning doesn't get approved.
Yeah. So, so I'm comfortable with that as it relates to the contingency that all zoning and, within this meeting or anything else that would have any bearing upon this is also approved. But is everyone else okay with that?
My opinion has always been on this, and we've been doing this CD risk thing for what? I forget how many years. I remember when it first started happening, and my position is there, along with a lot of people's positions. It's not our it's not our duty to tell somebody if they can do something at risk. If they want to take our risk on, it's up to them to decide whether they can do it. We, up here on a board, you know, on the commission, we don't oversee construction documents, so I don't know why it's being asked of us. It also kind of relieves you guys of that pressure as well. Let's say we, you know, the commission says, oh yeah, you proceed, you know, CD's at risk, and then let's just say something happens and, you know, they have to do a whole new redesign, you know, something pops up, and then that puts you guys in a position where the applicant could say, well, planning commission said we could submit this stuff at risk, you know, and they said it was okay to do so, and now we have to redesign the whole project because something came up. So my position has always been, it's up to the applicant and the owner to decide if there's a risk that they want to take, and I don't think it's really our privy to say yes or no. It's just, it's up to them of whether or not they want to do it.
Understood. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson.
All right, you good then, Sal?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, sir. All right. Very good. Then we will move right along now into the other item, which is the discussion of the regular meeting agenda, which we've already had some of here, but looking at the agenda on our consent, we have the Albertsons at Lindsay and Warner, the Gilbert Pavilion, CSP amendment, and Banner Gilbert expansion, DR 25166. And then non-consent, item 8 is the SEC Higgley and Ocotillo Retail Center, the zoning we were talking about. And then 9A, B are Pop Stroke, DR and UP 25, and then Z 2519 Tuscany at Gabriella Point. I think, anyone have anything they wanted to discuss as it relates to something on the consent or on the non-consent they would like to move?
Could we move Pop Stroke to the consent?
I personally think that would be okay,
But that gets Keith off the hook.
other than the
Sorry, I
immense agony of not hearing Keith.
should not be irreverent at the, yes, I agree.
I think
Pop
we should
smoke.
consider it. Can we do, oh, that's a good question.
I know we could do the DR, but can we move
The question for legal, the legal beagle, are we able to do a use permit in a consent?
Yes, you can do that.
Okay. So we could look at moving that, and I don't believe, I'm pretty sure that the other two have to stay. Okay. Well, that's good then.
Do we have communication, do we have citizen cards?
For right now, no. Oh, and as it relates to, are you saying like to notify? Yeah. So if anyone here is here to speak on any items that we're talking about, make sure you fill out the comment cards that are in the back of the room, indicating the item number on which you wish to speak, just so that when the meeting does start, if I see somebody that possibly wanted to speak on this one Pop Stroke, we would not then move it to the consent counter, and we would hear it so that we can hear the public input. So just anyone here that's looking to speak, make sure you fill out the cards prior to getting started, or during, we'll still allow it, but. Okay, well, very good. Then with that, we can conclude the study session, and it's 6:01, so we did a short meeting at 5:30, and then we ran long. How about that? Luck of the Irish. So we'll take a 5-minute break and come back for the regular meeting. Thank you. Okay, everyone, thank you very much. I'd like to call this meeting to order. First order of business, please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you very much. Could I get a roll call, please?
You can. Alternate Commissioner Wong? Alternate Commissioner Lyon? Commissioner DeGravina?
Here.
Commissioner Gage? Here. Commissioner Davis?
Here.
Commissioner Simon?
Here.
Commissioner Anderson? Vice Chairman Fay?
Here.
And Chairman Munt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's discuss the approval of the agenda. I know we had a little bit of the discussion prior. I have comment cards here, all of which are for item number 8. And I know we discussed moving 9A and 9B to consent, so I think that is something that we could do if we were so inclined. So if there's any other discussion, or I'll see.
Make a motion?
Yeah.
Chair, I'd like to make a motion to move items number 9A and 9B to the consent agenda and leave the remaining agenda the way it is.
Second.
All right, we got a motion from Commissioner Simon and a second from Vice Chair. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Okay. Now we will move on to the communications. This item 4 is communications from citizens. At this point in time, members of the public may comment on matters within the jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. Commission may not discuss items that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to state law, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration. Just please note for those of you in attendance looking to speak that this is a time when you would speak about something that is not an agendized item. So if your card is for number 8, this is a different time. So is there anyone else here that wanted to speak on something that is not on the agenda, but just as a public comment like this? Okay, very good. Then we'll move to item 5, which is the report from the council liaison, but I know that Commissioner or Councilmember Lyons is not here today. So we will go past that and into the public hearing consent. All items listed below are considered the public hearing consent calendar. The commission may, by a single motion, well, I guess I should wait to make sure that these, okay, very good. The commission may, I lost my space now. By a single motion, approve any number of items where, after opening the public hearing, no person requests the item to be removed from the consent calendar. If such a request is made, the commission shall then withdraw the item from the public hearing consent calendar for the purpose of public discussion and separate action. Other items on the agenda may be added to the consent calendar and approved under a single motion. And so our consent calendar currently is item 6, DR 25149, Albertsons at Lindsay and Warner, Gilbert Pavilion -CSP amendment, long name. Item number 7, DR 25166, Banner Gilbert expansion. And then the item 9A, DR 25141, Pop Stroke, and 9B, UP 2559, Pop Stroke.
Chairman Munt, I'd like to move to approve the consent agenda as written, but with the addition of items 9A and 9B.
All right, we have a motion for approval as written and voted upon. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, but we need to add UP 25-60 Pop Stroke on the 9B. There's 2 use permits.
Oh, I didn't read the second one. Very good catch. See, Commissioner Simon was once the chair, so that's why he has the eagle eye. That was a test.
I can't take.
And, yeah, so the
Item-
9A and 9B is 2559 Pop Stroke and UP 2560 Pop Stroke. Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Motion, your motion, of course, included 60, so.
Yeah,
we can
mine
take
was
the
by
second.
item number 9A and 9B,
Yeah.
so I think we captured all of
So
them. It
you
was
were,
your
you got it.
reading.
It was me, yeah. It was me.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Simon. Okay. Now that we've established that it was my error, that's just fine. Please cast your vote. right, thank you. Motion carries 7-0. On to the public hearing, non-consent. Non-consent public hearing items will be heard at an individual public hearing and will be acted upon by the commission by a separate motion. During the public hearings, anyone wishing to comment in support or in opposition to a public hearing item may do so. If you wish to comment on a public hearing item, you must first fill out a public comment form indicating the item number on which you wish to be heard. Once the hearing is closed, there will be no further public comment unless requested by a member of this commission. So I have a lot of the yellow cards from those of you in the audience. If there's anyone else out there that is still here to speak, please do fill out a yellow comment card, and you can get it to someone in the staff or bring it up to me. And then we will go directly into item number 8. Z2513 SEC Higgley and Ocotillo Retail Center. And we will bring up the one and only Mr. Sal DeSanto.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Sal DeSanto, Planner 2. The application we'll be taking a look at tonight is rezoning case Z25-13, the southeast corner of Higgley and Ocotillo Retail Center. The subject site, outlined in blue, is approximately 16.14 gross acres and roughly 13.1 net acres, and it is located at the southeast corner of Higgley Road and Ocotillo Road. The site is currently a part of the larger 243-acre Marbella Vineyards planned area development. Here on the aerial map, we can help get our bearings straight as to what adjacent uses are next to the proposed site. So to the north, just beyond Ocotillo Road, we have a Town of Gilbert recharge facility. Just to the east, beyond Wilson Way, we have some single-family residential. Just to the south, we have some additional single-family residential. Both of those areas are part of the Marbella Vineyards residential subdivision. And to the west, just beyond Higgley Road, we have a place of worship as well as the Shamrock Estates residential subdivision. Before diving into some of the zoning aspects of the application, I thought it would be helpful just to share the site and its current general plan use designation. So just like every other property within the towns of Gilbert, there is a zoning category as well as an associated general plan land use designation. So in our 2020 general plan, we do show that this hard corner at the southeast corner of Higgley and Ocotillo has been dedicated for a commercial user. In our general plan, it states that the general commercial classification designates areas for the commercial and service needs of residents in the surrounding area, which can be accomplished through standalone development or typical master site plan design. In the general commercial land use designation, there are also a few corresponding zoning categories, of which general commercial is one of them. We also have shopping center and community commercial. So those zoning designations can all take place within the general plan use designation of general commercial. I'm sorry. Here on the zoning map, we can see currently that the site holds a shopping center zoning designation, which is dedicated to medium to large scale commercial, retail, and office development. Just to the east, we have the Marbella Vineyards SF6 zoning category. Just to the south, we have the SF7 zoning category. And again, to the north, we have PFI at that recharge facility. And to the west, we have community commercial at that place of worship. And then some SF10 and SF8 on that Shamrock Estates portion as well. And that blue hashing you see on the map showcases that the property is within a planned area development, which is Marbella Vineyards. Just another bit of history to add to the site is the Marbella Vineyards planned area development was established back in 2002, and it did incorporate this commercial corner. At that time, it was designated as a C2 commercial designation, and fast forward to 2005, when the town updated their zoning categories, it became shopping center. But since the Marbella Vineyards PAD has been established, this corner has been dedicated for a commercial use. Taking a look at the zoning exhibit, we can see that proposed general commercial zoning designation on site with the associated PAD. You can also see the two proposed pad sites in the northeast corner and the northwest corner that are going to accommodate a future sit-down restaurant user as well as a financial institution up in that northwest corner of the site. I also wanted to mention in the zoning exhibit, just to clarify the difference between that 16-acre gross compared to the 13-acre net. The net acres for a site is the ability to develop within the means of its property line. But within the town of Gilbert, the zoning categories actually carry over to the center of the streets. So that's why you can see that darker shade along the northeast and south here, where that zoning designation will carry to the center of the street, increasing the acreage for the rezone from 13 to 16. As part of the rezoning request from SC to GC, the applicant is requesting to establish some new conditions of development, as well as incorporating a new development plan for the PAD and ordinance, as no previous development plan has been established for this commercial site, just a designated zoning district. Here too, I just wanted to identify the two zoning categories that we're discussing tonight. On the left, we have the shopping center zoning designation, and on the right, we have the general commercial zoning district. One of the main reasons for the change in zoning is the fact that the shopping center zoning district limits one user or building to 75,000 square feet, where the general commercial zoning district does not. With the anticipated user being just over 120,000 square feet, the up zone was necessary to accomplish that design. Looking at some of the other key differences between the shopping center and general commercial zoning district, we can see there is a difference in height, 35 feet maximum with a 2-story maximum in shopping center, and 45 feet maximum for the general commercial. The next difference that you'll see is the building setback difference. So the building setback adjacent to residential properties stays the same between the SC and GC zoning district. We have a 75-foot building setback adjacent to residential, as well as a 25-foot front setback, as well as that 20-foot side setback. Where we start to see some additional changes is in regards to the landscape setbacks. In the shopping center zoning district, adjacent to residential uses, the landscape setback is 30 feet, with non-residential being 15 feet, and in the general commercial, we jump up to a 40-foot landscape setback adjacent to residential, with a 20-foot landscape setback adjacent to non-residential. So taking a look here at the development plan, I wanted to highlight the anticipated design for the site, as well as some of the requested deviations as part of the PAD process. The first deviation is the reduction in a landscape setback adjacent to residential from 40 feet to 25 feet. The reasoning for this reduction is to help accomplish a safer and more functional site design, especially along the southern corridor, and it helps alleviate some of that without keeping as much parking in that southern property line. Another thing to mention as well, although this is a 25-foot landscape setback, majority of this southern property line will actually be in excess of that setback, 25 being the closest separation between property line and parking stalls, and as we move west, this landscape setback increases, I believe, to around the 120-foot mark. The other deviation I wanted to bring to your attention is the request for 12 continuous parking spaces without a landscape island. In our LDC, this is a requirement in all parking areas that you cannot construct more than 8 parking spaces without a landscape island. This 12-space configuration is designed just for the online order pickup stalls here. There is going to be 12 spaces in a row, and this helps create safer operations for users or visitors to the site. And at this time, staff has no issues with that 12-spot configuration, as long as the entirety of the site still follows that 1:8 landscape ratio. Additionally, you can see the major tenant is more or less centrally located on site, coming closer to that eastern property line. And then we have the additional Pad 1 and Pad 2 in the northeast and northwest corners, which are anticipated to be general retail or sit-down restaurant and a financial institution. As for phasing for the proposed project, the first phase is anticipated to be all of the horizontal infrastructure. This could be on-site and off-site improvements, the parking design, grading and drainage, landscaping, and then as we move into phase 2 is when we'll start to see those vertical developments come to light. Phase 2 is the major tenant, which is anticipated to be a Target, and phase 3, the retailer or sit-down restaurant in the northeast corner is phase 3, and finally phase 4 being the financial institution in that northwest corner. As for public participation, a neighborhood meeting was held back in May of 2025. At the neighborhood meeting, roughly 150 to 200 surrounding property owners and residents attended to provide some comment to the applicant about the proposed project. Following the email, up until this point, at the time of writing the report and establishing the presentation, we had received 31 emails in opposition of the proposed project and 12 emails in support. And those emails are included as part of the staff report package as well. Since the creation of this report, we have received, I believe, an additional 15 emails in opposition and 2 emails in support. Some of the concerns from the adjacent neighboring community members are the preference to retain the existing shopping center zoning district rather than upzone to general commercial, the desire for smaller scale commercial developments, the preference for a traditional grocery and conventional shopping center design rather than standalone product, the thought that this use did not fit in with the existing surrounding neighborhood character, the visual impacts on nearby neighborhoods due to the size, scale, and massing of the proposed buildings, the concern that there would be a potential of loss of existing landscaping as part of the development process, potential adverse impacts on property values, and in opposition to an access point along Wilson Way. We do have some additional concerns, which are increased traffic volumes, trip generation, and congestion to adjacent roadways, the anticipated congestion during peak seasons, especially those holiday times of year, the potential for parking overflow onto nearby residential streets, off-street loading and loading bays facing residential properties, concern that the use could create the potential for increased crime in the area, also concern for potential light pollution affecting the nearby homes, as well as sound from operation, deliveries, and general site activity, the hours of operation associated with the use, the fact there are other uses within a vicinity of this site that have similar or the same user, and the the request for an 8-foot wall along the southern and eastern property lines to mitigate some of those visual impacts. And while we did receive quite a bit of feedback from the community members, when we look at a rezoning application, we want to ensure that we're following the 4 findings of fact, which is to ensure that the zoning amendment conforms to the general plan as amended, the required public notice has been conducted in accordance with applicable state and local laws, all required public meetings and hearings have been held in accordance with applicable state and local laws, and the proposed rezoning does support the town's strategic initiative for community livability. And with that, staff does ask for the recommendation to the town council for a recommendation of approval regarding Z25-13, the southeast corner of Higgley and Ocotillo, subject to new and amended stipulations. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sal. All right, does anybody want to kick off and ask Sal some questions? And then is the applicant here to speak as well? Okay, so if anyone has questions now for Sal, or, we can go through the process. What do you guys think? Commissioner Davis?
Thank you, Chair. Sal, what's the maximum height allowed in the SC district versus GC? Is it the same?
Chairman Commissioner Davis, the height difference in the two zoning districts would be 10 feet. In the shopping center, you are limited to a maximum height of 35 feet and 2 stories. In the general commercial zoning district, you have a maximum height of 45.
Okay, but it looks like the target building is 35 feet?
So the target building itself, to its tallest architectural feature, will be 35 feet, but the roof line itself, where we measure our height to, is going to vary between 26 feet and 28 feet, which would fall below the shopping center maximum as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sal. That was very well articulated, I just want to say. I was impressed. I actually even understood it. Okay, anyone else? Okay, thank you, Sal. If the applicant wants to come up and present then,
Yep, they have a presentation for you all. Thank you.
thank you. Welcome, sir. Please just state your name for the record and then take it away. And hit the button on the thing, it'll turn red. There.
Thank you. Just a second here to get our presentation teed up, if that's okay, sir.
By all means, yep.
It's ready, and I think if I... Oh, it's that one? Thank you. Yeah, you got it. Mr. Chairman, Reese Anderson with Pew and Lake. My address is 1744 South Vista, number 217 in Mesa. Always a pleasure to be with you. Our client this evening is Simon CRE, who's under contract to buy the property. Staff did a great job representing to you and laying out the basic facts of this case. I want to answer just a couple of questions that came up, which is that the retention basin immediately south of our property is owned by the Marbella HOA. They maintain it, they keep it. In fact, in some of my conversations with neighbors that live adjacent to it, I know that they recently replaced some of the trees there, so I know they're paying attention. Of course, at the request of the staff, and you saw one of the concerns about a wall was to put our 8-foot wall there. And so that, along that southern property line there is an 8-foot screen wall. And so to answer that question, the other one was about open space in connection with the AUP, and there might have been a concern that we're trying to keep above that. But if you look at the staff report, the required open space is 15%, and provided is 30, I think it's 38.1. Double check me there, but I think we're more than double what's required for the open space. So it's not as if we're trying to do too much. We're just really trying to meet the required standards of the operator and kind of those industry standards that we see throughout the nation. So this is the site. I'm going to go quickly here. Just want to remind everybody, this site has been zoned commercial since 2002. This is the original zoning ordinance that you can see on the screen. And interesting, I found in researching the history of the site, I thought certainly we'll find 1 or 2 applications. We found none. So it's just sat empty. Staff went through the zoning and the general plan. I won't belabor that. This is our request. I do think it's important to note, and I'll focus just on that southern parking setback. Again, parking spaces generally are kind of square. The property line is curved. And remember, this is behind an 8-foot wall. And then south of us is that landscaping area and then a street. So by my math, from our parking spaces to the property line on the other side of the street, it's over 150 feet away. So when you talk about just meeting the spirit of the law, we've well exceeded that. And I commonly ask the rhetorical question this way. I don't mean to be smart about it, but can any of us tell the difference between 140 feet and 120 feet behind an 8-foot wall? The answer is no. Staff's asked us to include some additional landscape in the area, which we'll do as part of the DR process. I won't talk about the northern one for the parking pickup or the grocery pickup. That makes all the sense in the world. When you've got a canopy, things aren't going to grow, and it's just safer for customers and employees. That's all I have to say about that, unless there's a question. Commissioner Davis asked about some of this development standards. I just want to point out, we are, even though it's a change to GC, we are developing consistent or greater than the SC district. We've really kept that principle in mind from the very beginning. And so when we talk about the highest point being 35 feet, again, that's below what's allowed in SC, but it's also on the east side next to Higgley Road, furthest away from any residents to the east, or to the south. The phasing plan, I won't bore you with any of that. There's circulation. You've seen that earlier. These are some of the renderings. I think they're coming along line with good improvements. I just wanted to share some good news, which was that the Gilbert Chamber of Commerce posted a position statement on this. They're fully supportive of the project. And when we were there, we shared with them, again, the proposed project as well as the proposed deviations, and they're supportive. This is the copy of what they posted on their website. For what it's worth, let me back up one. The Economic Development Department here at the town did some analysis. Now, they did that based off of data that we gave them as far as construction costs, number of employees. But I want to draw your attention about 2/3 down where it says physical impact and the direct impact. This is over a 10-year period, but they're calculating the direct fiscal impact of revenues of a little over $13 million to the town. So when we talk about just benefits overall, this is also seen as a good thing. So when I start looking at SC versus GC, and I'm starting to weigh pros, cons, difference, et cetera, I start to say to myself, well, I could take Target retail and put it in one. Again, and let me say, if the building's 128 and change, I'm going to round up to 130 just for my simple brain. So I could take Target grocery and put it in one 65,000 square foot building, and I could take Target retail and put it in one other 65,000 square foot, but I'd have the same thing. But we're here, instead of having multiple loading docks, multiple disruptions, more chances for noise, we've got one. Located at the far north side, which is where it should be furthest away. So we think overall, when you balance all these things together, including the anticipated economic development, we think it's a positive thing. So, Commissioners, we urge your support. We think this is a good thing. We think we found a good balance between the SC, the GC, developing mostly to the SC standards. We think it's, we think this is one that deserves your support as it goes up to the council. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. Anyone have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner DeGravina?
Yeah, good presentation there. I've got a question on the size of the parcel. Typically, when you have an anchor tenant, you have, like, such as Target, you have multiple retail. You have the anchor tenant and only 2 other retail parcels there, which makes it less traffic, which was a concern that I saw in the packet that we got at the end of the survey, that the biggest concern was traffic and congestion. So with only 2 additional retail spots there in Target, is that going to create less traffic, so it would alleviate some of the concern of the residents there?
So,
because typically, aren't they bigger parcels with more retail?
So, Chairman, Commissioner DeGravina, I think you could look at it from multiple angles. And so as I analyze it, the simple answer might be yes. But I also want to just recognize that with the CIP project happening at this location, where Ocotillo Road is being bridged over, the park happening, traffic patterns in the area are going to change dramatically. So, but I asked the question maybe a little bit differently, which is this going to bring any more traffic than should have been anticipated from a SC district? And the answer is, I don't think it'll bring any more, and to your point, I think it can actually bring less.
Thank you.
Vice Chair?
Thank you. Thank you. So that when I'm looking at a rezoning, the 2 questions I'm usually asking, consistency with the general plan and consistency with the neighborhood. And I had concerns about the consistency with the general plan because we're going from SC to GC and then waiving or manipulating the requirements that are additional for a GC. But maybe I misread that. It sounds like you're saying, particularly in terms of setbacks and open space, you're meeting all of the SC requirements except for that one little corner. Did I hear you correctly?
So, Chairman, Vice Chair Fay, not only are we meeting the SC standards, we're meeting the GC standards, except, remember, some of those GC standards are bigger.
You're right. That's what I meant is
Yeah.
we're going to GC, but not meeting the GC standards. But you're saying we're going to GC, but we're meeting the more restrictive of either of them, essentially.
With the exception of just that southern landscaping setback where,
Okay.
where there's a few parking spaces there. And again, we replaced it with a tremendous, it's like 860 square feet of impact that's in that triangle. I know I'm drawing with my hands. But to the west, where we've added a lot more landscaping, it's almost 19,000 square feet. So the offset is tremendous.
So usually you go to GC, you have bigger setbacks because it's GC. You're meeting all of those setbacks
We're meeting the
of
GC
the higher.
setbacks.
Except for that one little, okay, thank you. That meets my, I didn't quite make those connections.
I would say it this way, which is we're meeting the GC setbacks with the exception of height, which we're keeping SC. Yes.
You're meeting the more restrictive of either.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I wasn't getting that point, but I am now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good. Anyone else? Commissioner? Oh, I thought I saw your hand reaching. Okay. Nothing else? Okay.
Mr. Chair, if there's questions at the end, I'd love the opportunity to
Yeah,
respond.
we'll bring up the citizens that wish to speak, and then you'll have a moment to come and speak. Okay. All right, well then, at this point then, let me, I'm going to open up the public hearing. I have a number of comment cards. Once again, anyone who is here that did wish to speak, if you have not yet filled out a yellow comment card from the back of the room, please do so, so I make sure to get you in the mix here. Okay, so moving to the first card here, we have Stacy Simon, who is opposed to the item but does not wish to speak, and her comments are: we need a small community shops and restaurants like downtown Gilbert, not big box stores. There are 3 targets within 6 miles. Next up, we have Michael Simon. He is opposed to the item, does not wish to speak. Please, no rezoning, no need, no want, no reason for target. And if I read your name and you have not indicated if you wish or don't wish to speak, this is for, I believe, Bonnie Compton, as opposed to the item, and didn't check. Bonnie, did you want to speak? Okay. Thank you. Next up, we have John Honegger, opposed to the item, does not wish to speak. Comments are traffic issues, noise, and light pollution. Next is Shelley Vagely, opposed to the item, does not wish to speak. Concern over traffic and the entrance off Wilson. We don't need a big box store there. How is this consistent with the feel at the regional park? Next is Kathy Schulman, opposed to the item, but does not wish to speak. Kajon Solly, opposed to the item and does wish to speak. Kajon, if you'd like to please come up. Yep, right to there, and then just state your name and your address, or, just, where you live, and then 3 minutes, please.
Yeah, appreciate it. My name's Kagan Silly. I do live in Marbella Vineyards. I do want to add to a little bit of the public participation that Sal had described earlier. He made mention there were 31 emails opposing this rezone. I wanted to go in a little bit more detail on that. There was a digital petition that had gone out around May or June of 2025, and I want to read this out loud, and I want to tell you how many participants have signed this digital petition. Protect our neighborhood. Oppose GC with pad overlaying rezoning near Higgley and Ocotillo. We, the undersigned residents and concerned community members, oppose the proposed rezoning of the property of the southeast corner of Higgley and Ocotillo Road in Gilbert, Arizona from shopping center SC to general commercial GC zoning with a planned area development pad overlay. This proposed change would allow higher intensity commercial development with reduced zoning standards, including narrower building setbacks, increased parking allowances, and less stringent landscaping requirements. These changes deviate significantly from the original SC zoning and are incompatible with adjacent residential neighborhoods. If approved, the rezoning would lead to increased traffic, noise, lighting, and building massing nearing residential property lines on the south and east. More importantly, it may contribute to diminished property values for homeowners in proximity to the development by eroding the residential buffer and replacing it with less predictable, more intrusive land use. Due to these material impacts, residents are currently reviewing all available legal remedies, including potential litigation and formal appeal under relevant zoning and land use laws. Please sign below. There are over 500 digital signatures opposing this. I do want that to be taken into consideration. I do want that to be known. Sal, I believe you do have that too.
And sir, just so you know, you get, when you're speaking on the public forum, you just have your 3 minutes to say it, and it's not, so Sal can't respond to you. That's just so you know, that's why.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
Thank you.
you're
My
okay.
first time.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you very much, all good. Okay, next up, I have Chad Brossman as opposed to the item, recommended against changing zoning and against the parking reduction, and, okay, wish to speak, please go ahead, state your name and your.
Thank you. My name is Chad Brossman. I'm a longtime Gilbert resident, over 20 years, Valley native, and I am also a registered architect in the state of Arizona. I have done similar developments to this, very successful, Dana Ranch. I've worked on Mesa Riverview. I also worked on South Shore Talent Center. They're successful because they're scaled appropriate. This project is not scaled appropriate. The one thing that I would like to go on record that unfortunately Sal did not mention, I know he can't respond, but the reduction in parking was not mentioned. There is a request for a 12.5% reduction in parking over 80 spaces. To make this monster fit on this limited site, they want to further reduce parking. Additionally, if you look at this site plan, one of the entry drives is a residential drive that not only is a residential drive, it abuts the return and cycle of Fire Station 9. That was built to reduce response times in southeast Gilbert. Adding traffic and congestion and semi-trailer delivery, which it doesn't matter whether it's one or two, it's the same number of trucks. And we could ask, has a traffic impact analysis been done? We know traffic is going to increase with the bridge. We know traffic is going to increase with the future phases of the development of the park, and we're all for that. We support that. I don't support increasing response times to the fire station. I don't support having truck traffic, semi-truck traffic, which can't make an easy access in. It has to cross pedestrian thoroughfares into that site. If you look at that site plan, you're asking a semi coming off of Higgley to make a left into northbound traffic, which is a nightmare. That's why we put the light down further south between Marbella and Shamrock, and cross. Then he's got to make a left and a right to get in from that side, or they have to go in, again, on a residential street with semi-tractor trailers multiple times a week, every week for the foreseeable future. Now, if we look at the Fry's down just a mile south, that's appropriately sized, has multiple back entrances where semi-traffic can come in without impeding the flow of traffic, parking traffic and pedestrians. This isn't the case. There is no need for this. There is between 6 and 10 targets within the 10-mile catchment. One is literally 4.5 miles to the east on Ocotillo. They're successful. There's not enough associate businesses with this to make this work. If we look at other developments, like I said, the Fry's down further south, there's multiple other retailers there that fit in that site that make it appropriate. They support each other. The small businesses support the big. You go, you park, you go to one and then go into the other to grab whatever. You can't do that here. The other three corners of this are not, you can't develop those for business uses, for similar compatible uses. Not to mention that the landscape buffer, those houses on Ironside, they face that wall. That's not the backyard of those houses. They're facing that. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. Next up, John Gherkin, opposed to the item and wish to speak. Please, John, come up, state your name and your address, and 3 minutes, sir.
My name is John Gherkin. I've been a resident of Gilbert since 2018. I live on Ironside Lane, southern part. When I purchased my home in 2018, I was told it was designated as a small shopping center, SC. Everybody that built or purchased land in there knew that. Now, I've heard a lot of discussion tonight, but I haven't heard one thing. Why is it good to rezone this, to put a target in the middle of our communities? What purpose does it serve? Check the other 6 targets within an 11-mile radius. None of them are in the middle of communities. So what is the purpose of this? Is it revenue? We haven't had any revenue from that land because it's been that way since forever, vacant. So why hasn't somebody built there? It was mentioned. Nobody's wanted to. Well, why? Can anybody in the development services go out and say, hey, we got a lot here. Very good. It's zoned properly. But the point is, someone has to prove to me that we need a large box store on that place. Put yourself in our position. Kagan just pointed out one thing here. That petition was last year. We haven't had a chance to get it updated, but that's over 500 people. Now, there's children in that neighborhood. They're going across streets to go to school, all kinds of things, parks. We don't need people coming through our neighborhood. Those streets were built for our residents' purpose, not for commercial reasons or from outside communities. So respectfully, I think you should disapprove this, because just because a large developer purchased the land, comes up with a beautifully presented presentation here, doesn't mean that it is good for our community. And I just mentioned another thing too, on the zoning regulations, on purpose and intent, there's a couple items in there. One of them is preserve and enhance property values that you all should take in consideration for us citizens of the immediate community affected by this. Promote and protect the public health, safety, comfort, and general welfare of the residents. That's us 500 and more. There's thousands in those residents there of the town of Gilbert. You should take care of us. I've rambled on. I appreciate you listening to me, but somebody has to tell me, prove to me, why the Development Services recommended approval without any consideration for us citizens. We deserve the right answers on this.
Thank you, sir. Okay, next up we have Stephen Gantenbein, opposed the item and wishes to speak. Stephen, please come up, state your name and address, and 3 minutes.
First of all, thank you so much for saying my name correctly. Nobody ever gets my last name right, so big props already. I want to thank the 3 gentlemen who spoke before me, because they said a lot of the points that I wanted to say. So, Commission, thank you so much for letting me speak. This is my first time. I'm a little nervous, so I apologize if I sound like an idiot. Oh, golly. First of all, as many have mentioned, there are multiple targets within a 10-mile radius of this location, and target sales have been declining for 13 quarters in a row. So should we approve this plan and build a target and sales continue to decline, what's going to happen to the big empty building that's literally across the street from my house? This map is mislabeled. Ironside Lane is actually Pinedas Drive, and I live on Pinedas Drive. And the influx of semis for deliveries, to my understanding, would be right outside my window. The pollution, the noise, the extra traffic. I don't know if you've been on Wilson Way before, but our HOA doesn't even allow us to park cars on the street overnight because they're worried about emergency vehicles getting through. So allowing semis to go down this narrow road to get into Target is going to create more of a hazard than us parking on the street in the middle of the night. While we understand that this was initially zoned for, SC, GC, or SC, I think many of us, of the folks that I've spoken to, my neighbors, would prefer we do something like the Epicenter or small businesses or a promenade where you can walk and there's a coffee shop or a sub shop or things like that. I would also say, to add on to the point about the petition, is that I was at that meeting, and when someone asked how many people are in favor of this, of the 150 to 250 people or 200 people that were there, only 3 people raised their hands. So this is something that's wildly unpopular in the community. I understand the economic potential of it, but it is not worth creating so much traffic congestion hazards for the children that live there, the folks that live there. So again, thank you for your time. I would please request that you don't approve this.
Very well. Thank you, sir. Okay, next up I have Kwame Connor, opposed to the item. Huge store like Target will bring too much traffic and crime. And Kwame, did you want to speak? Might as well give it a try. Come on up, just say your name. You got 3 minutes. You can say anything you want. It's a public forum, so don't be afraid. All right, just say your name, address, and 3 minutes, please.
All right, I'm Kwame Connor. I live at 3377 East Penn Drive, so I'm just right across from where the store is going to be. When I saw the presentation, I didn't see anything about effect in terms of safety and also house prices. So have they considered that? Because if it will impact our safety and also our property values, I don't think that the economic value of having to put a store there is going to be worth it because even if you're getting 11 million over a decade or so, and the housing values in the area are going down, it basically offsets the money that the city is going to get. So it's just a question I was wondering if they had thought about. That's it.
All right, thank you very much. All right, next up, last but not least, is it Laura and Cynthia DeVera opposed to the item? And did you wish to speak? No, okay. Very good. All right, is there anyone else that came that wished to speak that had not filled out a card yet? Oh, I thought she was getting a card. Okay. Picking something else up. All right. No worries. All right, then I'd like to invite the applicant, Mr. Anderson, if you want to come back to kind of address some of the concerns brought up by the citizens, and then after this, we can all discuss and ask Sal any questions as well. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the chance to just share a few thoughts. With the utmost of respect for the digital petition, I think I would have signed it too if under those representations, just that the representations made in it were wrong. It's not reduced setbacks. It's not increased traffic. I would just globally say to every one of the valid concerns that were raised by our friends here this evening, would you have the same concerns if it was zoned SC? Would you have a concern about traffic? I mean, if it remained, or if it was an SC development, let me phrase it better that way. If you have a concern about lighting, the answer should be, it should be the same regardless. And those lighting rules apply. Do you have a concern about noise? Yes, the same rules apply. Do you have a concern about setbacks? Yes, but thankfully, under the GC, we're actually bigger. Do you have a concern about height? Yes. That's, again, valid concern, but we're meeting the SC district. And in fact, on the side closest to the residents, it's actually lower. We're between the 28 and 26 feet. So with the utmost of respect and the opinions shared, when I really cut through it, the arguments are against anything to be built there rather than something that's GC. I would respectfully suggest that a single user like Target here with the other outbuildings closer to the street is a better solution than having average tenants that with multiple loading docks and multiple dumpsters, et cetera. We think this is a cleaner project, a better project, one that's actually higher quality. And so this is not one where we're trading revenue for anything else. When we look at everything in the totality, everything, the scales tip in favor of this project at this time. We just think it's better overall. I know that some may disagree with that, and I respect those opinions, but those are our thoughts on the matter. Mr. Chairman, I try to share some things globally but if there's something specific you or Commissioner would like me to share some thoughts about, would you please let me know?
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions now, and otherwise we can reserve to bring you back if needed, but did you, Commissioner Davis?
I'd like to hear from Mr. Anderson on the semi-truck access on Wilson Way and what was looked at and, you know, what were the evaluations done to make that determination. It does look like it comes in by the fire station and not further into the neighborhood, but could you talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I'm happy to, through the chair. So Commissioner Davis, again, we start back with, it's SC, right? So you could always bring a driveway there already, so that's number one. Number two, it's located directly across from the driveway into the fire station. It was put as far north as possible on purpose. I also want to note that there has been a traffic study done. It's been carefully reviewed by the town's transportation department. I know Clinton Emery's here, he can speak to that if you'd like him to. But carefully looked at and coordinated with the CIP team to make additional improvements at Wilson and Ocotillo, including improvements at Ocotillo and Higgley. And you may have saw in the stipulations additional right-of-way being requested from us on all the streets. We've done that already. And so everything that's been asked of us, we've done to either address, mitigate, et cetera. So yes, you know, deliveries will come there, right? That will happen. But I also expect deliveries to come down Higgley and Ocotillo also.
Just to follow up, as far as hours for deliveries, I mean, I think Target's open till 10.
Yeah,
Do they get late night, middle of the night deliveries, do you know?
I don't know the answer to that, and I don't want to make something up. I just know that, I mean, during normal business hours, they are going to operate the store like they do all the others. And of course, they want to be respectful to all of their neighbors.
Okay, anyone else have any questions for the applicant?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Vice Chair.
Thank you for it. So right now, you could build SC by right. Shopping center, you're already entitled, right?
Correct.
And you would have to meet all of the requirements of SC, traffic, parking, setbacks. If you go to GC, some of those requirements increase.
Correct.
You're already, every single requirement here in terms of setback landscaping, you're meeting the more restrictive of either SC or GC.
Correct, with the exception we've noted.
Yeah, with those two little. So any of the objections, I don't understand I don't know that there's really a valid objection related to setbacks, at least, or setbacks or landscaping, because they're only going up, if anything. Is that a
Correct.
fair statement? I mean, I was really concerned about this one not meeting the intent of the general plan, but I'm kind of getting there. So you could build SC and do almost all of this, except for the size of the building. Except for the outbuildings. You could do all of this by right now without a rezoning.
Correct, and so, Vice Chair Fates, that's what I talked about earlier, which is, it is possible to design, again, in my simple explanation, a Target grocery and a Target retail, separate them by 10 feet in a covered walkway, and you and I would not be having this conversation this evening. Because
You would not have the bank and the restaurant. Those two would go away, but you could do that with the Target.
Sure.
But it doesn't sound like anyone's opposed to the bank and the restaurant.
I haven't heard anyone oppose that.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, Commissioner Simon?
I do think it's important to note that the setback that we're discussing is up against that already established retention basin. So although it is up against a shortened or a reduced setback, you're still considerably far away from what would be the road there. Am I correct?
Yes, just to add some detail to that, right? You've got a property line, 25 feet of that, north of that's a parking space, but south of there, you've got 90-plus feet of landscaping in the HOA tract, 50 feet of roadway, and then the houses begin.
Okay, anything else? All right, I think we're good then, sir.
Thank you.
If we do need anything else, I'll let you know, and, I'll grant you the time if there's more questions.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, with that then, I will close the public comment and bring it up here to the dais for additional discussion. Or, you know, and we can also bring Sal in if anyone has any questions as it relates to staff. So before to bring it to the dais, I guess I should say, do we want to ask Sal anything else? Okay. Well,
I do have a question for Sal.
okay, Sal, you do have to get up, bro.
Get you up for the third time.
Commissioner DeGravina.
Sal, just out of curiosity, that parcel has been vacant for a long time, and you would probably go out and try to market it to different types of clientele. Was there any kind of demographic study that shows what would work best there? Maybe the smaller retail as opposed to the big box? And anything done in that area where, you know, what works actually best there? Does a big box work better than smaller retail like it was originally zoned for?
Chairman, Commissioner DeGravina. So to this point, we have not reviewed any sort of market study. That sort of documentation isn't necessarily required for a zoning or design review application. As far as I know, for the history of this parcel, it was mentioned by the applicant as well, it was established as a commercial piece back in 2002 as part of the overlying PAD, but since that time, we haven't received any formal application to develop the parcel. It could be for a number of reasons. It would be more speculation, but we don't have a definitive answer as to why nothing was ever developed and the reasons behind it.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, Sal, I guess you can sit down for now then. Okay, well then I'll bring it back up here for discussion, you know, and or a motion, if somebody were inclined, but I feel like we probably have some discussion. Who wants to kick it off? Commissioner Simon?
Yeah, I'll start. First, I'd like to say I appreciate the community's involvement in this and you know, looking at this from an SC to a GC perspective, I mean, the applicant's absolutely correct. They could actually build more on this site than what they're actually asking for. You know, you could say, well, we would want smaller, we'd want, you know, smaller shops or what have you. You know, every business that you add is going to add traffic. I think the traffic argument is not really relevant in this situation from my perspective. I mean, there's going to be traffic, and once that Ocotillo Bridge is done, that's going to be even more traffic. It's just, it is the way of it. Reading through some of the letters that were sent in, you know, we see resounding themes of, and I think one of the gentlemen said, what's the purpose, what's the need? You know, there is something that we hold very dear in our country, and that is personal property rights. And personal property rights allow people to do with their property what they want to do to an extent. And we as a town have the ability to say, does it fit into what that direction should be of the town? I don't know that I see any issue with this. I commend the applicant for keeping the elevation of the property low, the setbacks in line. I think this is going to draw a lot less traffic than what the fear may be. And I don't know that I necessarily see this being an issue. It is going to be developed. It is going to be developed as a commercial lot, whether that's shopping center commercial or general commercial. I mean, it's all in the size of the building, I guess, if you will. And I don't see there being that much of a difference when I boil it down to that. And then we start talking about walkability and usability and what's good use for that piece of property. And I think that this piece of property, because of the location, bodes well for what is being looked there. It could be, you know, another Fry's store, it could be another Safeway, it could be another Walmart, it could be what have you. But in this situation, we've got a developer and a product that's going in that is proven over time to be a good community member, and I don't personally have an issue with it, so I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Commissioner Simon. Who wants to rebut Commissioner Simon or agree? Commissioner Davis?
Well, actually, I concur with what Commissioner Simon had to say. I looked up to see how big a Fry's Marketplace is. It looks like it ranges, the small side is 80,000, the large size is 126,000 square feet, which is around the size of this. So a Fry's Marketplace, then once you add retail shops adjacent to it, I mean, the mass of it is probably gonna end up about the same. I understand the neighbor's concern to have more retail opportunities, smaller users in their neighborhood. I don't recall if that building, that pad 1, has multiple tenant options. That could be, so that's unfortunate, but I concur with Commissioner Simon in that, you know, it's really just comes down to the square footage of one user versus, you know, and it has multiple uses within that building. I do appreciate the scale of it is, you know, down lower than 35 feet. 30 feet's a typical two-story home. I do really think that they should look at moving that wall along Wilson Way to the inside of that retention area so that your feel as you come down Wilson Way, you have landscaping on both sides. I think that's going to benefit the neighborhood in a big way, to not have that wall right next to the sidewalk. I think that's a huge design consideration to benefit the neighborhood. Obviously still maintained by the shopping center, but to have the impact of that landscaping on the outside of that wall. The noise that for the deliveries and such, you know, unfortunately when you get anything else that went there, still going to have that circumstance. You look at a shopping center, the Fry's Marketplace to the south, there's homes right behind it. They're hearing that as well, and it's unfortunate, but when you're next to commercial, I think even if an 80,000 square foot retail building went in there, they're going to get deliveries too, and you're going to still hear those things. So, so I guess that's where I land. I'm in agreement with Commissioner Simon on that.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Davis. Anyone else want to add some input?
Okay.
Vice Chair?
Okay, thank you. Thank everybody. I'd like to thank everyone for a number of very good presentations. And to be blunt, sometimes when the public speaks a lot, there's kind of a mixed bag. You guys as a group were a pretty good group of presenters. I don't know if you practiced ahead of time, but much better than sometimes. I don't mean to be critical of other people, but as far as the two waivers, well, I came in actually thinking zoning is usually not a real high hurdle to get over to rezone a property, and I was concerned actually about both questions on this one. But in terms of the two waivers, the landscaping between the parking spaces, I have no concern. That's really these drop-off spaces under an overhang is not what our land development code was. That one, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. The other one I don't really have a problem with. That's the width on the little setback wedge on the southern edge of the property. Not so much because the rest of the houses are so far away. That's other people's property, and I don't really, this property really shouldn't benefit from that. I mean, it's possible someone else could redevelop that. The reason is just because it's such a minimal ask. We are, I think Mr. Anderson actually is the one who said, we're trying to square an irregular piece here, and we're really only talking about less than half the width of a parking stall to make the parking stall fit. I wasn't as on board with it coming in, but I'm not seeing it as a huge lift at this point. More importantly, and this is something that I misread, this is the reason I thought this was not consistent with the general plan, is I misread. This property is meeting, when you go from SC to GC, you gain the size of the building, but you lose in terms of more restrictive setbacks and stuff. And I thought what they were asking for was the bigger building, but still getting the, have your cake and eat it too. But I misread that. It's the opposite. They want to meet the more restrictive of either the SC or the GC. So in terms of setbacks, height, that kind of stuff, they're meeting the more restrictive of either, which says to me that this is a change that is consistent with the general plan, or it's not a huge lift in that sense. So in terms of consistency with the general plan, I think this meets it. And then Jan said it better than I usually do, but I'm a rank free market capitalist. If Target wants to risk millions of dollars trying to put another Target, I mean, maybe they're making a good decision, maybe they're making a wrong decision, but it's their property. And if Fry's wants to try to outbid them, they can take a shot at that too. But now what I'm less comfortable with is then the second part of the zoning decision. First is consistency with the general plan. The second is consistency with the neighborhood. And I'm wavering kind of back and forth on this. I would kind of think that this might be too much to swallow, except for the fact if we don't rezone it, we're swallowing the neighborhood. If you get an SC property in here, you're swallowing 98% of the same stuff anyway. They could come in here and build an SC property. I don't think they would build, but they could build two $65,000 stores, 65,000 square foot stores right next to each other. They could do that now without even coming in to talk to us at all. So I'm still grappling with how I'm gonna, on that second question of consistency with the neighborhood. I think this does meet consistency with the general plan. So those are my 2 cents.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Anyone else? Otherwise, I mean, I can walk through, I'll walk through my, yeah, Commissioner Anderson.
This is a question for, I guess, Ashley or the zoning attorney. Whatever the recommendation unfolds up tonight, the recommendation when it goes to town council, what hearing, is that on a March hearing or does that go to an April hearing?
That is set for April.
April, okay, I was just kind of curious as to how fast this moves after us. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Okay, well, I will just walk through, you know, how I like to look at these things is in an apples to apples, and I recognize the issues brought up, you know, that I completely agree, you know, as it relates to things like having nice neighborhood shopping, that would be ideal. But I want to make sure that we all understand what the charge of the town is and town staff in aggregating people to come in. I mean, and I think that the vice chair stated it. In free market capitalism, if there was people that were trying to put those smaller stores in, I don't believe that the land would have sat vacant for as long as it had. And then along with that, along those lines on that vacantness, that as we talk about safety, transportation, and all of the other things as it relates to traffic, all of those things were built into the roadways sizing, scoping as it relates to the fire as an SC. When we look at the actual delta between what they're proposing and what they could do with the SC, those figures are not very much different. It's negligible. As it stands related to nothing there, yes, there's going to be an addition. But our job is to look at a zoning change as it relates to what is the delta between what they can do and what they are asking to do, and decide whether or not that makes rational sense, not whether or not we like Target. That's not our job. I apologize, you know, that's not it. And I think that we need to be very clear that the transportation and the other things that have been built into it while this sat vacant, it doesn't mean that that was a right that all of everybody else deserved, because the landowner there deserves to have his or her or its trips, but however you want to look at it, but however many trips will be going in there, they have a right to those. That's their property. The same accordingly that you have a right to not want additional trips. So that apples to apples comparison is how I look at this. And when I look at what the developer has done, and I look at that in conjunction with the things that we see here as it relates to multifamily and the other things that become very hot button items, we run a risk of becoming an area that developers do not want to come into if we continue to push back on things that make rational sense. And as it relates to specifically saying, will a big box store create more or less revenue? What would be the best thing here from both towns' perspective and from revenue, you know, as for the developer, would be to put the new mixed use. We had developed this new code of mixed use where you could have multifamily mixed in with the commercial, because that's where you get the most as a per capita dollar per square foot of development, that is where the town would gain the most benefit. But we all know that if multifamily comes in, that is awful. That's traffic, that's the other things coming and all of that. So personally, I don't think, and when I say personally, I mean personally as a person looking at the zoning as it relates to my charge as a commissioner, I don't see that what's being asked for here is out of the norm, outside of what seems to be preferential ideation of what could be there and how much better that could be. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how your vantage point is, that's not my charge or our charge as a board or a commission to dictate to people what they should be putting in there outside of, does it meet these criteria, and do those criteria that you're asking for, if you ask for any reductions, are those nominal? And in this case, I believe they are. All right, anyone else have any more comments? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Z 25-13, southeast corner of Higgley and Ocotillo Retail Center.
Commissioner Gage has a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner De Gravina. Any other discussion? Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-1. I'll remind the public that the decorum that was granted you as you spoke, the same respect should be granted for others. If you have questions as it relates to anything else, I'd be happy to answer them, but I will not sit and watch the meeting devolve to yelling. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item number 10, Z2519, Tuscany at Gabriella Point, PAD amendment. And we will bring back Mr. Sal.
Chair, I need to recuse myself from this one.
All right, Commissioner Anderson will recuse himself. I don't think we bring an alternate. No, not in the middle, no.
I can't read that board. Are you the one that opposed this? It's the opposite.
All righty. Hello again, Chair and Commissioners. Sal DeSanto, Planner 2. The next application we'll be taking a look at is Z25-19, Tuscany at Gabriella Point, the PAD amendment. So the subject site outlined largely in red in the half portion in blue is a roughly 19.5 acre parcel within a larger 39 acre multifamily development near the intersection of Higgley and Warner Roads. The site is adjacent to Morrison Ranch residential neighborhood and the surrounding Gabriella Point Commerce Center, which is zoned for future commercial and employment uses. The entire development is currently under construction and will include 760 apartment units across 17 3- and 4-story buildings. The project will include 369 one-bedroom units and 286 two-bedroom units and 105 three-bedroom units, which with the larger units will be primarily concentrated on the eastern portion of the site. As for the PAD amendment tonight, this multifamily project has already been approved and is in the process of being constructed. But part of that original approval was the condition to allow 43% open space on the multifamily medium portion of the site, which is that western half. So the first piece of this PAD amendment is to reduce the common open space from 43% to 40% just in that multifamily medium portion of the site to allow extended private yards only on the ground floor units. The other request or deviation as part of this application is to allow for the use of view fencing on the ground floor private yards instead of the 80% opaque screen requirement that is required by code. Taking a look at the zoning map, I just wanted to show again the bounds of this property, that multifamily medium being on the west side, that multifamily low portion being on the eastern side. There is no changes to the zoning designations. Nothing else is changing on site outside of the requested PAD amendments. Here we'll have a better look at what this design would look like. So all of these residential buildings on the western side of the property have these existing extended patios. And with this application, the applicant is requesting to extend these private open space areas, permitted that they do not fall into any of the required building setbacks, which is being maintained up along Warner Road to the north. And as I mentioned, it is to reduce the common open space from 43 to 40%. Here, I just wanted to provide another illustration or exhibit that just helps visualize what these new ground floor units would look like. On the top there, we have that original approval, I believe from 2022, if I'm not mistaken, which shows the original patio design, and just below is that proposed extended patio design with a 3-foot landscape buffer between sidewalk and private patio area. So although there is a request for view fencing, there would be landscaping placed within this 3-foot buffer to help screen these private areas. As for the justification in regards to these deviations, initially when this project came through the pipeline for a similar application, it was ultimately denied by the town council. The applicant has decided to reapply with the town for the same request for the 40% common open space for the extended private patios, but this time around staff has a better understanding of exactly what amenities are proposed on site and the amount of amenity square footage on both the MFM and MFL portions of the development. Here on the screen, you can see that there are roughly 26 amenities provided in the multifamily development, and it creates just over 95,000 square feet of amenity space between the total 39 acres, which far surpasses the LDC requirement for multifamily amenities. So taking another look at this, we felt a bit more comfortable considering the amount of amenities on site, the amount of amenities square footage, as well as in regards to the view fencing deviation, there would be that additional landscaping to assist with the screening. As for public participation, there was an original neighborhood meeting that occurred back in January of 2025, and only 2 neighbors were in attendance, and they just had general questions about the development, or the project rather. And for the reasons set forth in the report as well as the presentation, staff does ask that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the Town Council for Z25-19, Tuscany at Gabriella Point PAD amendment for the reduction in common open space and the allowance of view fencing instead of the 80% screen wall requirement. And I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have. Thank you.
No, Sal, thank you. All right, bringing it up here. Anybody want to kick off some questions for Sal? Commissioner Simon, take it away.
Sal, thank you for the presentation. If I remember correctly, we approved this previously. Staff was opposed to it, but now staff is in favor of it. Okay.
I think we disapproved it before.
Maybe it was just me that approved it.
Let's not, guys, okay? We've got a meeting. Elena's looking at me, okay? She hears all this grumbling. We need to
Okay, so I just wanted, that was the only question I had, so thank you.
Right. Appreciate it, Commissioner Simon.
Yes, thank you. Anyone else? Any questions? Vice Chair's itching, okay.
Sorry, Sal. So this came to us previously and we disapproved it, I think. And then it went to council and they disapproved it as well. And now it's coming back again. Can you, as far as I can, and we've looked at the amenities more, but are there any amenities here that weren't there before?
Chair Munt, Commissioner Fay, At this point in the application, I believe the amenity space was there with the original application, but from a staff perspective, we didn't know exactly what sort of amenities were proposed on type and, or on site, I apologize. So looking at these 26 amenities, whether it be, you know, various pickleball courts, tennis courts, basketball courts, bocce ball, saunas, you know, we felt that these amenities did help in finding an alignment with the requested deviation.
But they were all there before, I think, right? Maybe some of the indoor ones you weren't quite sure about, but in terms of the outdoor space and the amount of indoor, it was all there before, wasn't it?
That is correct.
Okay. The screen wall, I've gotten some people, I don't have an issue with the screen wall, that the difference between being able to see through it, what opaque versus not, or whatever we're calling it, I don't have as much of an issue with, but the percent number, the number reductions, I think, is where we hung our hat, or at least I did previously. Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to kind of kick that around. Thank you, Sal.
I appreciate it, Commissioner Fay. Thank you.
All right, very good. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Commissioner Fay raises the question of the amount of amenities. What I thought I read in the applicant's narrative was that there were additional amenities added, because that's what I was looking for, is that offset between they were taking something away from the PAD, but we weren't getting something in return. What I was looking for was something in return, so I'm hoping that is the case and there are actually new amenities included, because if we're just getting the exact same package that we already had, then I don't see where we're getting that additional quality that was promised as part of the PAD if we're reducing something. I want to get something to give up something. That's what I was looking for. So, and maybe the applicant can confirm that, but that's what I thought I read in that report, was that some of those amenities were added to the basic amenity package. So that's what I'm looking for in order to be able to support it. Gotcha. So.
Chairman Munt and Commissioner Davis, one of the things that I wanted to just jump in and add, one of the differences that you'll see between the last application and this one is the condition that Sal had up on the screen that kind of locks in those amenities and that amenity square footage. And so that's something that we've worked with the applicant to ensure that that's something that's guaranteed through the PAD for the life of the project.
And just building off of Ashley's statement, any changes to the amenity design or reduction in said amenity square footage would require the reapproval and review by town council and yourself.
Very good, Sal. Anyone else? Okay, did the applicant want to present tonight, or?
Yeah, we have Reese here for a
We've
quick
got
presentation.
Double header? Okay.
Pleasure to be with you again, and thank you, Sal, for the, so let me see if Mr. Chairman, Mr. Commissioner, again, to be technical, Reese Anderson, 1744 South El Vista Mesa, 85204, on behalf of Frankel Family Trust this evening. And your understanding of the history is absolutely correct. I think the vote was 4-2, and then the council, again, was split, and so, but the difference, here's the key differences. When the case came before you last time, we had stuff along Martingale and Warner that were in the building setback. There was disagreement. We also had stuff 3 feet from sidewalks interior to the site. There was a disagreement. We took a big spoonful of humility. And now all of those private expanded yards meet the setbacks along Martingale, along Warner. We meet everywhere, and not only on this half, but we've also adjusted things on the other half. Remember, the other half was already approved back in October 22. So not only are we making adjustments here on paper, but on the entire site. So when you talk about what's changed, there's been some significant changes. Now, the percentages are still the same, that they work out, but some were eliminated. All of the, where we did have these extended ground floor, they were reconfigured. And so I think lots of improvements were made. Now, to answer the question, what changed? And so let me see if this will come up. If it won't, I can speak to it. It looks like we have technical difficulties, but let me just explain, because I think you can see it in our staff report. When, in this, to go to Vice Chair Fay and Commissioner Davis, when the original PAD case was approved and we asked, what's our amenity package? We gave a list. After that approval, right, and that was based on the open space granted at the time. After that approval, we added tremendously more amenities. And if you look at the list, this is world-class, very nice. And then in the last few weeks, the staff asked us, give us the square footage for each of these. We provided that to them, and that appears now as a stipulation. We're in full agreement with all the stipulations that are there. So, but I want to be precise, because I don't want anyone to have a wrong impression. And maybe this goes against this, but at the same time, I want to be very candid with you, which is the amenity package that is there. Remember, this project's almost all the way built. That was part of the DRB. The difference was that our team did not do a good enough job in explaining and talking with the staff where there was a better understanding. That's why you see today agreement between us and the staff, because, and our fault, but we've come to be on the same page. But it's clear from the time of zoning till now, the amount and number, square footage, type of amenities has increased dramatically, and also we're meeting all of the required setbacks, et cetera. I hope that answers the two questions that I heard, and I don't need to belabor this more than necessary, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have, but if you have other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
All right, yeah, thank you very much, sir. Anyone have any, Commissioner Gabriella?
Excuse me, I got a quick one for you, Mr. Anderson. So the extended yards reduce the open space from 43 to 40%, and that's basically what you're asking for. So if the town gives you that, you're giving us more amenities on that. Is that kind of the trade-off and the simplest way to describe this?
It is, Commissioner DeGravina, through the chair. It's really that simple, and I just remind everyone that this is a technical definition, right, of common area open space, and we are not eliminating open space. But technically it shifts because it's now behind the fence and therefore it's not available. But again, this is next to someone's unit, and candidly, folks shouldn't be walking there anyhow. So we think what we've done is provided a better space for those ground floor units. And you might have remembered that I shared this with the commission last time over at the crossings. That's Wade and Williamsfield, where this exists now. And those units are popular. And you might remember that on your study session, you just saw the Tracks project about a month ago over also on Williamsfield. And that has the similar configuration there too. So we think it's a good thing. We do think it's a good thing. And so that's really the bottom line.
I think it's a good fit.
All right, Vice Chair?
Mr. Anderson, you said something that doesn't make sense to me. So before you weren't meeting setbacks in a few places, so you've moved things so you do meet setbacks now?
Vice Chair Fay, we'll be really precise here. We're talking about setbacks of these ground floor yards, like where that fence would be, because no buildings have moved, right? When you think about what this is and what it's not, no building has moved, no parking's moved, no units increased. That's all set in stone and built. What we're talking about is that along Martingale and Warner, that old plan had a few of those that stuck out into the building setback. Okay. And if you remember, I don't need to rehash old stuff. We had a different reading of the code, but now we've just said, look, we're going to comply with the building. So every one of our yards along there complies with the appropriate setback.
So you've pulled the fences back?
We pulled them back. Pulled them back.
Now but the percentages haven't changed at all. Wouldn't the percentage, I mean, instead of you're at 43, right now there's 43, you want to go down to 40. If you're pulling those fences back, wouldn't you're at 43 and you want to go to 41? I mean, wouldn't it change a little bit?
You know, Vice Chair Fay, I thought the same thing. I thought, okay, when the reconfigures, we're talking decimals, that it just doesn't.
It's so small, it's within a rounding
error. It's so small,
error.
It doesn't matter.
Usually I would recalculate this on you. I'd go into the plans and read, but I didn't catch this.
And to that point, I've been very, what's the right word? Serious. I'm trying to think of a good word for serious, synonym for serious. When I look at the architect team who's done a fantastic job and looked at every one of these, and the staff too has gotten out their tools, measured every one of them to make sure that they're compliant. I just zoomed in here so you could see, again, the old plan had, this is Building 3, that's the corner of Martingale and Warner. The old plan had some there on the north side. They're gone. But others inside, the team was able to make those a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, but meeting the standards. And so where it was less than 3, they pulled that back, but stretched it a little bit left and right. And they've been absolutely clear they have not gone beyond that 40% mark.
Okay. I've heard your architects are inspired artists, mathematicians and gentlemen, that they're really just the top tier.
Well, I'll tell them, thank you, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, that answers my question, sir.
Let's keep things rational here. But anyone else have any questions or comments for the applicant? Okay, well, very good, Mr. Anderson. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, and anyone else want to have anything else to bring up to Sal, or any other comments or questions? And then just to clarify, I guess I should, is anyone here in the crowd, is anyone here to speak on this item that has not filled out a comment card? Okay, just wanted to make sure. All right, well then in that case, we'll close the public hearing and public forum and bring it back up to the dais for discussion or a motion. You know, and I'll just point out that this was one that confused me too by the same reason, but I remember there was those strips of sidewalk and things that had, like, it was 2 feet, but I'd be 3 feet, and it at the time seemed somewhat, I don't know, this is where I don't want to say a word like serious, like trite, but yet it was by the code, and I think that's where the interpretation, you know, and as we've worked it out, but that made sense, because I was the same way when I looked at it. I said, okay, this looks almost the exact same, and what's changed, but I was able to get that clarification, so. Any other discussion or any motions?
Chair?
Oh, wait, Commissioner Davis, was it a comment, or were you gonna do a? No, I was gonna make a comment. Okay, I saw your microphone, I didn't want to have, Commissioner Simon, go ahead.
I will make a motion to approve Z 25-19 Tuscany at Gabriella Point PAD amendment. I appreciate the changes that were made.
I'll second.
Motion and a second on the table. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 6-0 with Commissioner Anderson abstaining. Okay, motion carries. Moving along. Commissioner Anderson, if you'd like to come and take your rightful place back up at so that we can go into our administrative items here. Administrative items are for the commission discussion and action. It is to the discretion of the majority of the commission regarding public input requests on any administrative item. Persons wishing to speak on an administrative item should complete a public comment card form indicating the item number on which you wish to address. Commission may or may not accept public comment. This is the only thing in our administrative items this time is the minutes, item 11, Planning Commission meeting minutes. Consider the approval of the minutes of the study session and regular meeting from February 4th. Anybody have anything they wanted to add or amend to the minutes, or else a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes from the February 4th, 2026 meeting.
Motion from Commissioner Davis.
Second that.
Second from the Vice Chair. Please cast your vote. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you. Communication. We do not have an executive session, so we'll move to item 12, which is the report from chairman and members of the commission on current events.
Chairman,
Commissioner Simon.
I would just like to have a moment of silence for the loss of Kyler Murray. Just kidding.
Just remind that, you know, we don't make little people jokes on the dais, so. Commissioner Gage, do you have something to add, please?
Am I allowed to ask a procedural question right now?
During current events? I guess you could say.
I mean, where was, sorry, did I miss the right time? Okay.
Kind
I'll
of.
wait.
Yeah. So as a current event, Commissioner Gage is thinking about things deeply. All right, well, I don't have anything major other than Little League season started again, so I'm pretty pumped. And yet a little reluctant, given the fact that it's already 90 degrees. I might have to cry, but other than that, you know, it's springtime in the valley, so. All right, then, item number 13, report from the Planning Services Manager on current events. Ashley.
You stole my thunder. I was going to mention Little League too. I'm just kidding. Thank you guys for your service tonight and for all the time you spend on these cases. It's truly appreciated.
All right, very good then. All right, with that then, I guess, if nothing else, we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I will second.
We have a
that
motion for adjournment-ation by Commissioner Gage and a second by the illustrious Vice Chair. If you would, please cast your vote. Brian's button didn't work. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you all very much for your time and efforts. Meeting adjourned. Oh. He was a little Ewok that played for the Cardinals for a while.